Now, if you think about it, I've heard the mayor speak so many times. Pity my poor wife, Mary Ann, how many times she's had to hear speeches that I've given here, there, and everywhere. Uh, but the mayor has done a super job. He's been a real pleasure to work with, and I think part of the message, and the county commissioners will be here a little bit later. Part of the message is you need all of the legs of the stool supporting your efforts, and so you can have a very strong private organization, but without strong and willing government working along with you, you're not going to get very far. And one other leg of the stool is the non-government organizations, things like our colleges and universities and hospitals, medical colleges, and so on. They are the anchors of our communities. And yes, some people will complain that they don't pay real estate taxes, for example. However, they add tremendously to the economy through their purchases, through their employment, but also through the development of a professional-based community. I think they kind of raise the entire community. What I'd like to address this evening, you've heard the mayor on how he's been involved in building this community. He's done a tremendous job of it. And I'd like to talk about our chamber and building a community. Our chamber is a lot different from many chambers that you'll find around the country, and I've known and I know many of those chambers. Some chambers, all they will do is the basic chamber work. As important as it is, networking opportunities, educational opportunities, annual dinners, they call them chowder and marching societies, get-togethers, and you feel good. And that is an important part of the business, especially when you want to optimize the economic impact of the businesses that you have. Give them a networking opportunity, and they do more business with the other people that are in town. So you don't have dollars leaking out of your local economy. You keep as many of those in your community as possible. But our chamber got involved in a whole series of separate efforts. And we have a large chamber now. There's 2,200 members. We have about 26 people on staff right now. And we're involved in a number of professional areas. We probably manage 8 different corporations, such as Leadership Lackawanna is a separate corporation that we put together usually within the chamber for a specific function, and then you try to spin them out for any number of reasons. Originally, we developed the community concert organization, and Chaz Palminteri is going to be in town, I guess, Friday for his show. Well, we spun that off like in the 30s. We actually started an economic development corporation in 1913, and the reason was Lackawanna Iron and Steel. We used to be one of the major steel producers in the country. This was before Pittsburgh grew into that, before Johnstown grew into that. But we had problems with logistics. We had problems with raw materials. The iron ore wasn't that good. The limestone was all the way down in the Lehigh Valley. And so Lackawanna Iron and Steel moved up to Buffalo, New York. In fact, there's a town called Lackawanna, New York that's up there. And so that was kind of a wake-up call for the people who own the mines and the railroads and the water company and all of those things. And so they put together a company called the Scranton Industrial Development Company, and it was to provide incentives for companies to grow here, for companies to relocate here. That was formed in 1913. It's still in business. We still have capital. We use it for small business lending right now. And Al, one of the interesting things about SIDCO was International Correspondence Schools was here. we were providing, International Correspondence Schools was providing distance education at that time. It was a correspondence school, training people in mining arts and electrical stuff for that, for health, whole number of things. Well, the Depression hit. They suffered greatly. Sidco had lent, probably $1 million at the time, and this was a lot of money. Of course, they employed something like 2,000 people in downtown Scranton at the time. And so when they got into that problem, the president of the Scranton Chamber of Commerce was Ralph E. Weeks. And Ralph took over the operation of ICS and operated it for a number of years. And as a matter of fact, when I took over the chamber back in the 80s, I'm going to forget the company's name, but one of the successor companies, we still had stock in that company. And sure, come on in. We actually did very well selling that stock and converting it into cash that we turned around and invested in the community. Gentlemen, how are you? Have a seat. I'm going to tell you about Lackawanna County. It's a great place to live and work. These are our other partners. So anyway, we got involved in industrial development early. After World War II, we really got involved in industrial development big time. We formed SLIBCO, the Scranton-Lackawanna Industrial Building Company, and our greatest need in the community at that time was industrial land and industrial buildings. And over the years, we've probably done 330, 340 projects. Tens of thousands of jobs were created. But even at this point in time, we still have land in probably 10 different industrial parks and office parks. We own about 2,000 acres of land, nearly all of it under development if it's not totally developed. We own over 1 million square feet in buildings because that's what the community needed, that's what industry wanted. And that was fine as far as it went. But then we found one other thing was happening. The companies like Lackawanna Iron and Steel that helped found this community were slowly dying off. You know, a community in one sense is like a forest, and you get good, strong trees, but after 60 or 80 years, sometimes they get weak and fall over or carted away or whatever. So you constantly have to plant new trees to keep the forest healthy and to keep your economy strong. The thing that I noted at the time, we had a company down in Southside called the American Can Company. And I know out of, let's say, 15 or 20 of plants around the country doing exactly the same thing, this was the second most productive. The people here worked hard. They did a great job for them. But we entered a recession. This is the '82 recession. We entered the recession. They had $2 million that they were supposed to spend on some environmental equipment. And somebody up in Greenwich, Connecticut said, oh, the hell with it, we're not going to spend $2 million in Scranton. We'll just close that plant instead of closing another plant. So we were not masters of our own fate, if you would. And at that time, the Chamber made a major commitment to small business development. We formed a microloan lending program, and we made hundreds of loans, I mean $10, $20, $30,000 loans. And the idea was that the small businesses that we helped develop here in the area weren't going to move anyplace else because the owners were right here in the community. They were part of the community. So local ownership would make our community stronger. Then another need developed. The failure rate of small businesses is very high. It's part of life in a capitalist society. However, you could improve your chances of success if you provided a business incubator, which is not only a building, but also shared services, mentoring, and a whole number of other things. Well, we have 2 incubators in Lackawanna County right now. And as a matter of fact, we're looking to build a building. We're going to call it an accelerator building. Is that right, Corey? Yes, an accelerator building, and the point of that is we need a place where the graduates of our incubator move to when they come out, and we're working on that right now. As a matter of fact, Senator Mello has a letter from me requesting that as the mayor said, you don't get those dollars from the state automatically. We just want it released, and we'll be able to get something under construction. So that kind of led us to another problem that we had, and that was a lack of venture capital locally. We worked very closely with an entrepreneur in town. He had a wonderful idea for providing services to small and medium businesses. He was excellent in the field, and importantly, we had the resources here, the skilled people, the computer people, everything we needed to support that business here, except for venture capital. Well, he finally found the venture capital down in Charlotte through a VC firm that was down there. However, venture capitalists like to stay close to where they invest their money. And so they said, fine, we'll put $3 million into your company if you move down to Charlotte and we locate it there. So that was a drawback that we had. What we announced about 2 or 3 weeks ago is we got together Wilkes-Barre, Hazleton, ourselves, and we've all put money into a venture capital / angel fund hybrid out of Philadelphia. It's called MAG2, and that's Middle Atlantic Angel Group. And I say it's a hybrid because it's like an angel fund where all of the people that have invested in this venture enterprise sit around the table, just like this meeting right here, but we also have an experienced venture capitalist managing it. So he's taking care of the day-to-day stuff there. So now we have access to this venture capital. We're well-financed with it. There's a total of about $5.5 million and that will work for us. And it'll allow us to do 3 things. One, it'll provide a source of venture capital for firms or entrepreneurs that are here. Second, it will provide, taking something out of Charlotte's book, if we find someone, let's say in the Mid-Atlantic region, and we have a few companies that we know of, and we're talking to them, that really want the venture capital, and we can convince them that Scranton is the place to be, they can have some of our venture capital if they move the operation here. But then the third thing that we're doing, and this is very, very important, is to develop an entrepreneurial culture and a venture capital culture. And in this MAG2, there's about a dozen local people from Wilkes-Barre, from Hazleton, from Scranton, that have each ponied up $50,000 to sit around the table. And the important thing is they are now getting an education in how to do venture capital. So we want to start with that core and then have it spread out from there. It was interesting back when I started with the Chamber, and that was in 1975 on my birthday. So it was a while ago. But Scranton, if you go back to the 1890s to the 1920s, Scranton was a hustling entrepreneurial town. In something like the 1890 census, it was the 25th largest city in the United States, and it had the highest per capita income. First, the non-millionaires were all working because they had jobs in the mines and the railroads. We were going to Poland, Italy, Ireland, Wales, recruiting workers to come in here. The growth rates were tremendous. But everybody that wanted a job had a job. Secondly, the people that were developing the mines and the other industries that went with it. I mean, these were real entrepreneurs, coal barons. If you go through the hill section, you see some of those great mansions that they built there. But that just fed on itself because you had an entrepreneurial culture. Well, when things started to go bad and the market for coal went away, the people who remained successful in the town were the risk averters. And so a culture of risk aversion took over, especially in the 50s and the 60s. And so we have been working hard, and I think we've been successful in developing an entrepreneurial culture here, and we plan to continue that. So we saw needs in the community, and we got involved with them. Another major need that we've seen here is the need to develop skills in our workers. We have a lot of unskilled workers that want good jobs, but don't have the skills to get it. Interestingly, we have a lot of companies and healthcare institutions and others that need people with skills and can't find them in the labor market. And so we started a major effort 6 or 8 years ago to pull those together. We have websites that list all of the good jobs. We have training programs. We're putting nurses back into the workforce. Up at Tobyhanna, we're helping people get 2-year degrees, associate degrees in electronics technology. The nice thing about that is they go to school that first year. The first summer between that and the next year, they work full-time at Tobyhanna for about $15 an hour. And then as part of their education, for the second year of their education, they work 20 hours a week as part of the course and everything else, and get paid very well for it. Then at the end of that, it's called a SCEP program. They walk right into a job at Tobyhanna that's starting at $40,000 a year. Now, it's Lackawanna College together with Johnson College. They work together, pooling their assets to put together this curriculum. The cost is like $12,000 a year, so it's affordable, and you have a job coming out the other end. And we've even arranged through the Workforce Investment Act and some of the traditional Pell grants and the other scholarships, we've been able to pay. No one's been turned away from the program because they haven't had the money. Well, we started the first program with 9 people, 7 finished, and there's 190 people majoring in electronics right now to fill a need that's going to be several hundred a year for the next 5 or 10 years at Tobyhanna. We're doing a similar thing with diesel mechanics and so on, but it got so big for us, and Scott can tell you, we had to reshape the chamber, formed a separate division for skills in Scranton, just to handle all of that. Just as in leadership development, we formed a separate corporation and company. So I'm not going to go on forever. I love the chamber, love my work. I just two comments, and then I'll quit. One is that the mayor says, you know, it takes a long time to do these projects. Well, I came to the chamber in 1975 when we incorporated Montage, and we finally opened it in 1983. That's 8 years. Then we started on the mall at Steamtown. That was another 8 years. We're developing the Valley View Business Park up in Jessup and Archibald. We've been working on that for 8 years. Now, Mary Ann points out that I'm 63 now. How many more of these am I going to get involved in as we look at the next challenges? But you know, the other point is communities are always going to have challenges, and so it's great job security. Scott and Nikki, hang in there with us. And then finally, the last thing I want to say, since you're going to be up at Keystone College next week, is tell Ned Beam that I still have my Keystone College tie on and let him know I didn't lose it just after he left the office. So shall I open it to questions? Nikki, you tell me what's going on. All righty. Yes.
I was curious about all these different programs, the small business loans and skill training. How do you reach out to different segments of the community? The mayor was talking about new residents, new communities, some of the communities that aren't doing so well. Do you find participation from everybody being aware that there's these options?
You know,
Training or
it's something that you're always working on. I'll tell another family story. Mary Ann's uncle owns National Bakers. He's passed away now. Her cousins run it now. And here we were going to family dinners every month and everything else. And then he starts complaining to me that he bought some ovens for like $1 million and he was paying 17% interest at the time. At the time, we were providing machinery and equipment loans for 5% or something like that. And I says, Uncle Tony, you know, why didn't you come to me? Oh, I didn't know you had it. So we find that we constantly have to get that information out there. It's a little bit easier now for large segments of the population where we have all of the websites. We have another joint project with the county where we have Innovation Starts Here, Power, which is young professionals throughout the community, and Rediscover Scranton, people that are working elsewhere that have ties to the area that we'd like to keep in touch with. And there's like 4,000 names in that database. They get regular emails on what's going on. But outreach, we send people out to talk to groups. We go to the different politicians' offices and let them share it with it. We work with just a whole number of organizations, but we're always working at that. And it's always frustrating because no matter how, it's like marketing anything else. No matter how much you think that you're pushing it out there, there's people that don't know that the programs are available for them. So we try.
And I imagine language differences or differential access to the internet.
I'm sorry?
I imagine with language differences or differential access to the internet, in some communities that's an issue.
Well, that's true, but we do have people that are working. Jorge Coronel, for example, has a website in Spanish that's helpful. We advertise, especially our small business programs, in Millennium News, and have her help us out. Of course, we also advertise in the Scranton Times. Let's make no bones about that. But yeah, no, we reach out as best we can. But if you have any suggestions, if there's any new magazines coming to town that you want to have us get involved in or advertise in, let us know. As long as it reaches a market. Well, with that, Nikki, thank you very much. Thank you. Hang on one second.
From leadership, thank you for coming.
All right, I appreciate that.
Always
hardly
have
wait.
to give the boss a token. At this time, I'd like to introduce two very good friends of Leadership Lackawanna, Commissioners Corey O'Brien and Mike Washoe.
This is not a political commentary that I'm leaving the room. I hope you turn.
These heard us once or twice before. I'm going to go first so Corey gets a little time to rest up. Well, good evening. I understand if you're tired because it is a little late in the evening. So if you
need to close your eyes for a minute along the way, I'll understand. Uh, I've appeared before public groups enough times in my life that I've seen folks just kind of doze once in a while when it gets late. And the worst thing you can do at this time of the evening, if you're speaking, is to turn the lights out and show slides. I guess we don't say slides anymore, but we used to say slides. Because when those lights go back on, all of a sudden you see a lot of people waking up when you're giving a talk at 8 o'clock or whatever in the evening. But I do want to say thank you. Thank you to Austin. Thank you to the Chamber. Thank you to Leadership Lackawanna. Thank you to Nikki for the opportunity to be here tonight. You know, I see this as a shareholders report, really, my part of the program. And you're really the shareholders, the owner of this company that we work for. And that's the way we operate each and every day. We're a really great team. Now, I'm older, so I can say that, and hopefully it doesn't come across as being arrogant. Corey and I ran together and created wonderful moments and memories, and now we've been governing together for 16 or 17 months. And it's fun to go into work every day, I want you to know, not because we're having a party, but because we both get down to business right away. We spend our days in the office. You don't see us out in the streets. You don't see us out during the day. But we're there each and every day because we know that we work for you and that we believe that you're our employers and that you put us there through the electoral process and you hired us to do a job on your behalf. That's really what democracy is all about. You can't be there to make and enforce the rules every day, but you need to be able to trust that there are people who are going to work and who are making rules that are consistent with what you would want to see in the community that you live in. Because we all want to live in a community, even if we're private, even if we want to have our privacy. We still want there to be that semblance of order and goodness that can come out of a community. And really, that's what we see ourselves about. You know, just sitting here tonight and thinking a little bit about it, Austin mentioned the 1890s, how big we were. Starting in the 1880s, we were one of the 50 largest cities in America. What are the tangible reminders of that? Well, the library across the street is an 1893's building. And the town was well enough off that they went out of town to find an architect to design it. That was always a sign of some level of sophistication. Not that talent wasn't here, but they also recognized talent in other places. This is a building from the 1890s as well. And one could go down the street, and I'm not going to do that because I'm talking to you about, I'm going to talk to you about the economics of the county at this point in time. But this really was a bustling place. We have a tradition of community here. And I think that that's been reborn over I don't know how many years. It's been taking a long time for us to get there, but we are at that point, and we're seeing a new sense of community, and we're seeing some really good leadership, I think, throughout the community, and I think much of that leadership has come from the Chamber. So what I'd like to have with you now is a very candid conversation, probably one of the most candid conversations between elected officials and the people that employ them, the people that they serve, that has occurred in Lackawanna County, at least. The conversation began in February of 2008 when we held a public hearing on the county's finances, and we're continuing now with an update today. When I say we, I'm referring to all three commissioners. You pay for three commissioners, you should get three commissioners. And I get a thrill out of the fact that when we go to work each day, that there are three of us working at it. It's never happened in the history of the county, I want to say, that there are three people that talk about all the issues, don't always agree, and I think that that's really one of our most significant achievements. So I'm talking about AJ and Corey and I say to people, even though Corey and I are able to complete each other's sentences, I could walk out of the room, or he could walk out of the room now, come back in here in 10 minutes, and if I'm still going in 10 minutes, he'd be able to pick up in the middle of the sentence, and I can do that for him. And well, we don't have that relationship with AJ. We have just wonderful personal and professional relationship that's resulted in good things for the county. That's what it's all about. People are tired of all the bickering, the screaming, and the hollering, and some of the stuff that, you know, that sometimes is happening in other municipalities. And we're just not going to have it, and that's that. Now, what have we been doing as our report to you? Now, I'll give you this. I guess this is a test, and I'm taking a test, and then you're going to grade it somewhere along the line. Well, one of the things we did is we cut the workforce by 6%. Everybody believes that there are too many people working in government, so we've cut it by 6%. The budget in 2008 was $89 million, our general fund budget. It was in 2008. In 2009, it's $86 million. We reduced expenditures, haunting expenditures, by $13 million. Now, what were some of the other things, in addition to reducing the staff size, that we do? We terminated a cleaning contract for $275,000, and county employees were able to pick up the work. Refinanced debt, which resulted in lower costs through the removal of surveillance fees. We reduced our fleet size, and in the last 6 months of 2008, we saved 9,500 gallons of fuel. Corey's going to talk a little bit about energy, I believe, but we've done a lot in terms of motion lighting and just simple things like light bulbs. In the area of health care, we're going to save $1 million over 3 years just by making some adjustments to our health care policy. We have the first travel policy in the history of the county that I'm aware of. You know, there are 1,600 employees in the county, but there were no time cards when we arrived. Now imagine that. And it's not easy. You don't just now go out and buy time cards and all of a sudden say, okay, now we've got a time system, but timekeeping system. But it's sort of like starting from the beginning. We really wish, and I'm sorry, this is being, I'm sufficiently tired that I might say things that I wouldn't otherwise say. But nonetheless, if it's shown in the morning, people will say that they'll think that I was saying this in the morning. But sometimes I feel as if I wish that we could just shut down and start the whole thing all over again. But we can't do that. And there are a lot of good people who would be hurt by that, so we can't do that. Some of the other things we've done is RFPs, RFQs. Today, there was something on the agenda today that we were going over for tomorrow, where one of our department heads was putting in for approval of a contract with someone. We said, you know, did you shop it? Was this advertised? No, but there are only 2 companies that do it. And this is a very good employee and a strong and good manager who said it. I said, but we don't know that. Are we that smart that we know everybody that does everything? We don't. So that's why we shop. And I might say that recently I said to the people in the purchasing department, I hate to say I because it's generally we, but I just happened to be sitting there and having some conversation. I said, look, if you want to protect jobs of your colleagues, get the best prices for everything. Shop locally as much as possible. So there's really a cultural revolution that's taking place in the county, and I'm proud to say that it begins in the commissioner's office, and there's lots of good people that are helping to carry it forward. We did a space utilization study. We spend $1.2 million a year in rental. Now you're going to see we didn't just do a study. We're doing something about it because we're going to build a building in Jessup. We bought the land. We own the land. It's paid for with your money, and we're going to be able to move activities there that don't require a lot of public contact, where the cost will be greatly diminished over time, but it's not going to happen all at once. But unfortunately, we have leases amounting to $1.2 million a year. We've been able to negotiate some health care contracts, which has allowed for an increased employee participation by the year 2010. It's still an accomplishment. It's $250,000 savings. Our overall insurance, just the regular liability insurance that we buy in other insurances, we have saved over $400,000 in 1 year on premiums. Copy machines, we've said the multifunctional machines, we've saved over $82,000 annually going forward starting this year in that area. And so there have been a lot of savings, but you know, when you're responsible for the whole ball of wax, you don't feel real good about it when, after all those savings, you realize that for 2009, we're looking at a nearly $3 million a deficit. For 2010, $6.5 million. For 2011, $8 million. And for 2009, almost $10 million. Now, I think that that's not something that you would normally hear in Lackawanna County, for someone to say that to you, to go that far out and say to you, it's really that bad. But you need to know, you own this government. We have a responsibility to tell you where we're at, and then we have a responsibility to tell you what we're going to do about it. And it's an awesome responsibility, but it's something that both Corey and I think AJ as well, really welcome. Now, our revenue projections are that we should collect this year about a little under 90% of our taxes, which we normally collect. We're going aggressively after delinquent taxes. In February, we collected almost $700,000 in delinquent taxes. The previous year, we collected $250,000. So we know that that's making a difference. You know, the old idea where people could pick up the phone and say, take me out of the sale, it doesn't work anymore. We don't come to the phone. There is no one in county government, there's no individual that has any special protection or preferential treatment, nor is there any property owner that has any special or preferential treatment. Now, for someone from out of town, and there's some people here from out of town, they wonder, what in the heck's he talking about, preferential treatment? You know, we all got tax bills, we paid them, and that was that. When I lived in other states, I would have never thought to call a county commissioner and tell him I was having trouble paying my taxes, and what could he do about it, and that there were 17 votes in my family. But, you know, that's still the culture that we have here. You know, that said, it still doesn't diminish the fact that there's nowhere that I'd rather live than here, and this is where I'll live out my life, and I'm happy to be able to say that that's the case, and a number of my family members, including a couple of my children, feel the same way about it. Now, some of our revenue assumptions are not very pleasant. Now, we're seeing a reduction in our revenues at the prison. We house a lot of prisoners for the federal government, and we've seen a dramatic decrease in the amount of dollars that we're receiving for that. So we're really greatly concerned, and that's what's contributing to the $3 million shortfall for 2009. We know that annually we're going to be looking at increases with salaries and wages and health care, and we know that we've got to do something about the economic situation that we find ourselves in, and we want to do something without raising taxes. You know, the first thing that people look at always is, well, you can raise the taxes. And you know, most people get reelected after they raise the taxes. It was recommended to us that we just raise the taxes in 2009. A number of people said, you know, you raise them now, you raise them enough to last for 3 years, and people will forget about it. And maybe that's true, and sometimes I think, man, maybe we should have done that. But I don't really think that, and I don't really believe that. Recognizing that's an easy way out. The easy way out is not the way that you expect us to take. You know, raising taxes gives us a steady stream of revenue. You can count on it. If you're a good manager, you raise them that one time. You know what your needs are over the next 3 years. But what's it going to do to business expansion? You know, Austin is talking about what the Chamber does in the area of business expansion. I mean, the Chamber drives economic development in this area. And just an aside, I'd like to say that we in county government don't believe that we should have some strong economic development department that competes with the Chamber or is a parallel agency. We think that we should use our limited resources to augment when there's the opportunity to augment, to support what the Chamber is doing. And so we don't want to raise taxes and then deter the expansion of business in the area, or to discourage new businesses to come in this area. We know that people have not had we know that residents of northeastern Pennsylvania have not had the kind of incomes that their uncles and aunts and grandparents had, who moved to Connecticut in the 50s, or who moved to Pittsburgh, who moved to Cleveland, who moved to Detroit. Therefore, even their Social Security is less at the end of the day than the Social Security that their relatives collect. So they're not in a position to take on more of a tax burden. So we've got to fight like crazy and make as many cuts as is necessary to fight off a tax increase. We can reduce staff. I said that we reduced our workforce by 6% over 106 positions, and with benefits, I think we're saving $3 million. And we can do more of that, and that's measurable, and you can count on it in the budget, and you know where you are. But many of the services that would be essential services, and now more than ever, people need services from the county and from government, and we're a major employer in this area, and not that we're in the business of competing with the private sector to see who employs the most people. It's nonetheless, you don't just slice hundreds and hundreds of jobs out of county government without having an impact upon services and without having an impact upon the overall workforce in the area. Now, we could restructure debt, and we're doing that. We restructured $100 million in debt when we first arrived within our first year. If we hadn't, our debt service now would be $20 million annually, and we brought it down to something about $15.5 million. You know, the thing about government is that even taxpayers don't always think about the fact that when we're doing big stuff, it's going to cost you. When you build a 911 center, and it costs $18 million, it has to be paid for at some time. When you do work on the courthouse, even the needed work on the inside of the courthouse, and you spend close to $50 million, the bill collector comes and wants his or her money. And that's what we're faced with. That's what we were faced with as soon as we arrived, when we saw this debt service going through the ceiling. So we did refinance that $100 million in general obligation debt in 2008. But we're now in the process of doing some more refinancing, which will result in a $4.7 million savings over 4 years. So for fiscal 2009, we can pick up $1.7 million. So that $3 million shortfall for 2009, all of a sudden it becomes a $1.3 million. And then we can pick up for the next 3 years another $1 million a year. So that sounds great. That's a positive. But I'll just give you one negative on that, and we're going ahead and doing it. There's a cost to everything. Money isn't free when you borrow it or whatever. And the debt restructuring will have a present value cost to the county of $4.1 million over the period of 2009 through 2034. Now, when I was in business, I didn't want to stretch debt out. No way did I want to stretch debt out. And Corey and I struggled with this, but we knew that we couldn't lay a tax increase upon our community now. Now, another thing that we can look at here to deal with our situation is the sale of assets. And the one significant asset or major asset that we have left is the nursing home. Since the advent of Medicare and Medicaid, the need for a county-owned facility really has gone away. A lot of it around here has to do with tradition more than necessity, because people can go to the nursing home of their choice as long as there's a bed available. They don't have to go to the county home. The county home is 272 beds. It's about 13% of the beds in Lackawanna County. If it was sold to a private owner, they would operate the facility with the same number of beds. They'd be required to operate it with many of the same staff members, all of the union staff members, because the protection of the union contract would go with it. Now, and what this would mean to us is that we would save the approximately $600,000 a year that's being lost and is being paid out of the county general fund. Now, there are a lot of positives that may come from this, and we're in the process of evaluating the cost, the market value of the nursing home, but it would provide the county with much-needed capital during these economically challenging times. These times are not going to go away. It's not, we can't wish them away. They're not going to just go away, and we have to be prepared to deal with them. We'd eliminate government competition with private industry in the nursing home business. We'd reduce the county's exposure to liability. It might help to stabilize the general fund. So we're really out of things to do, short of a tax increase, unless we're able to tap into something such as the sale of the nursing home. And there's no decision and no finality on that. We're concerned about the employees who work at the nursing home. We receive more positive comments on employees in the nursing home than anywhere else in county government. You pick up an obituary and you'll see once a week a comment on how much the family appreciated the care and love that was demonstrated by the staff of the nursing home. But I'm going to tell you what we said to the staff when they came to a commissioners meeting. We said, you know, we appreciate your good work. It's well documented. But we work for everybody. We work for the people who need the facilities, the residents of the nursing home. We work for the employees at the nursing home, and we work for the people who pay all of the bills. And that's, we've got to measure all of that when we make our decisions. And the final thing that I'd like to say is that we're not just looking at what we can do. We're trying to encourage all of the units of government, the 40 municipalities, and the 10 school districts in our county. We're trying to encourage them to look for ways to save. Not that we're the big brother or the granddaddy, or that we can do things better than all of the other units of government, but we think they can do better together. They can do better together. So we've begun a series of meetings wherein we've invited the 40 municipalities and the 10 school districts to come, and we've had topics of interest at each meeting. We've had, the last meeting, we had something on health care costs, and there's a school district right here, a couple school districts right here that have pooled their healthcare. They're in a pool for healthcare to ensure healthcare savings. Valley View and Abington. Were there others other than those two, Corey? I think those two are in this one pool with other districts outside the area, and the savings have been phenomenal. We had someone here who would talk to us about consolidation of police. From the southeastern Pennsylvania area, where a very successful program was developed, talking about the pluses and the minuses of that. So we're not just looking in the mirror at ourselves, we're looking for ways to bring units of government together, to share services. We're not saying that they'll lose their individual identity. We're doing all we can to ensure that they take a good look at this without the fear of losing their individual identity. And we got a long way to go. This is a year-long project. We have 3 meetings. We're meeting once a month, and hopefully good will come from it. Now, Corey's message is going to be more upbeat than my message, because he's not going to talk about money as much. He's going to talk about recreation. He's going to talk about in the environment and some of the things that we're doing. And I said at the beginning that it's been a wonderful time that we've had together these 16 months, and we think that we've gotten a lot accomplished during this time. We know that there's a lot more that we want to accomplish. We come to meetings like this not just to tell you what we're doing, but sometimes we get an opportunity to hear from you what it is you think what we should be doing, or we hear from you on how we can do things even better. We're not afraid to put our ideas out in the marketplace and have them tested. We're not afraid of getting a report card or whatever. So with that said, I'd like to ask Corey O'Brien. I want to wake him up and ask him to come. Austin started by talking about older trees between 60 and 80 and younger trees. You're looking at an older tree here, but we have a younger tree coming up now. Corey, you're on.
Mike's right. I get to talk about some of the fun stuff. Mike talked about the critically important aspects of our finance, and you all know that. We don't have to tell you much about that. You know what it's like to run companies, and you know what it's like to have to balance a budget and to make it work and to manage your way out of situations. You don't have the luxury of just being able to raise taxes to get something done. So you have to manage your way out of it, and that's what Commissioner Washoe was talking about. That's what we're trying to do every day. So we're trying to act a lot more like you act on a daily basis, even in government, where it's a little bit different type of environment. But thank you for having us, and thank you for doing business in Lackawanna County. It means a great deal to us and all the residents of our county that you'd be here and that your businesses would be located here in the county. So any way that we can be of assistance to you, we will, if that's through the chamber or through the county or in working with other governmental entities to help you. So please look at us and look to us as a resource. The 3 areas I'm going to talk about are energy, parks, and innovation. And I want to start in energy and talk a little bit about the national energy situation, how it actually has an impact here. If you remember back, those oil cartels, they went and raised our gas prices to $4.25. Right? And they were squeezing us. And that was really when the economy started to tank, because that was when people really started to get squeezed. Then, remember, we had this thing came along called an election. And all the oil cartels, then all of a sudden, what starts happening? Prices start dropping, right? We start talking about energy independence. We start talking about green technology. We start talking about a green economy. And all of a sudden, these energy prices start going down. And now now a gallon of gas it's much less expensive than $4.25. Well, what do they think? Do they think that we're going to forget the $4.25 price? I think that's what they expect. They expect us to just get lulled back to sleep here. Well, we're not, prices aren't that bad, so maybe it'll be less of a priority for us. And then once we're over the hump where we don't have the money, then those prices will go back up. And we'll have a situation where then we can't fund an energy independence initiative. Well, energy independence is not something you just talk about in Washington. You actually have to do it here. And we're on the front lines of that. And we're trying to lead by example with respect to energy. We have sold our county fleet of vehicles. We're selling them off. All the old vehicles, we're replacing them with hybrids. We'll have an announcement soon of the delivery of 10 hybrid vehicles, and we're going to have a display that people are going to be able to take a look at the technology. And we're going to actually spend a day or two educating people on the importance of hybrid vehicles. And you'll be able to see the hybrid vehicles that we've purchased. You'll be able to sit in them. You'll be able to talk to people who know a lot about hybrids. You'll be able to look under the hood and spend a few days educating yourself as to the importance of hybrid technology and that we're deploying it right here in Lackawanna County to try to do our fair share. We're also going to be purchasing hybrid buses through the Transit Authority, through Colts. We're going to start, we have 2 buses that we're purchasing now that are hybrids, and we're looking to replace the entire bus fleet with hybrids over the next 10 years. So we're trying to do our part with respect to hybrid technology. We've also joined a fuel cooperative. Colts has been in a fuel cooperative, but we've had Coordinated Transportation also join a fuel cooperative so that we're guaranteed the lowest prices on fuel. So we go together with other governmental entities in Luzerne County and elsewhere and buy our fuel together so that we can reduce that price that we pay in government. We've also taken, as Commissioner Washoe said, just some common sense energy approaches. We turn the lights off. Now, there was a story actually a few weeks ago on WBRE about us not turning some lights off in the courthouse. And Mike and I, when we were first elected, we'd go by. You know, like during a campaign, you're out real late, you're speaking real late, it's typically dark. We'd be driving through downtown Scranton, and there'd be lights on, like a floor of lights on in the courthouse. And we said back then, like, what's going on? Those lights have to be turned off. Well, little did we know, they're on an emergency breaker, meaning that those lights never go off. They can't go off. There's, under the code, there are certain lights that always have to, believe it or not, be on in a government building. You have to have for instance, the stairwell has to be lit all the time. Well, we had a significant number of lights on there that really didn't need to get on there. So we've directed the county to reduce that number by a very large portion so that we can turn as many lights off as humanly possible. Now, we've also... Yeah, they're still not all off yet, so don't go by there tonight. They're still on. It's a lot more complicated than the way that you can't just... Changing that breaker takes a lot of work, so that's still a work in progress. But one of the things that we've done is we've asked everyone to shut down their computers. Now, we have the ability in the county to shut everybody's computer down for them. If they don't shut them down, we can shut them down remotely. We haven't had to do that because what we've found is we've now been able to shut down about 97% of the computers. So people are shutting them down. Now, over one evening, the amount of energy savings per computer, you'd be astounded that computer takes up, if you just leave your computer on all night, just on that sleep mode, you know, they call it kind of that sleep mode. If your computer's always on, it takes up more energy than your refrigerator over the course of a year. So just think of that refrigerator on. That one computer, laptop computer, will take up and use more energy over that one day than your refrigerator will. So being left on. So just think about that. Think about all the refrigerators that we're now shutting off in the county. You know, it's a big number, and there's some significant savings. And we've started to see, and one of the things we're trying to do here is we need to track results. So we've established, there's an easy way to track these results. It's called an electric bill. So we track the electric bills each month, and we log them in. So we actually have a graph that demonstrates where we are, and we're saving money. Are we saving $1 million? No. Are we saving tens of thousands of dollars on it? Yeah. So we're moving in the right direction. We're not there yet. We have still some more things to do, but we're saving on the electric bill, and that's an important thing. We recently joined Cool Counties, and Cool Counties is a national initiative. We're only the second county in Pennsylvania to join the Cool Counties initiative, and what that is that we are pledging to reduce our carbon footprint and our carbon output. Now, hybrid vehicles goes a long way. When we were looking at what vehicles we were going to purchase, we looked at energy-efficient vehicles, we looked at hybrids, and we looked at standard sedans. And when you look at the carbon footprints and the amount of CO2 released by a hybrid vehicle, while it's more expensive to buy the hybrid, the savings to the environment is significant. There's a significant savings to our environment. So while it costs a little bit more, just reducing our carbon footprint by that amount of carbon was well worth the investment. This is not all about, especially in energy, it's not all about saving money. And to be honest with you, that's not the primary focus. The primary focus is to ensure that our environment is here and as good, if not better, for our children and our grandchildren than it is for us. If we don't clean this stuff up now, our kids and our grandkids are going to live in a world filled with a lot more smog than there already is. Asthma, I have one of my friend's fathers can't leave the house because he has asthma with respect to our climate now. And so we need to reverse what we can reverse, and we need to reduce what we can reduce. And we're trying to do our fair share of that. One of the things, and Commissioner Washoe always likes to, when he's out, and I like to as well, give you guys a copy of our newsletter. We will make sure that you get for your next meeting, everybody will have a copy of our latest newsletter, which appears, I'm assuming everyone here gets the Scranton Times. I'm assuming you're all subscribers to the Scranton Times. This appears in the Scranton Times once a quarter, so you have to be a subscriber to the newspaper in order to get it. But this is in the newspaper once a quarter. And what it is, what we're very, very proud of here is the back of this. The back of it is Rainforest Alliance certified and recyclable certified. A few things I'd tell you about this. This is 100% recyclable material. Not one tree was cut to make this, to produce this. Not only that, now doctors tell me not to say this, but I say it anyway. You really shouldn't eat it, but if you did, it's vegetable oil ink. So there's, this is pretty much edible, but really don't do that, because you probably would get in trouble, and I'd be in trouble.
Sorry, can I point out, that's probably the main reason why there are so few successful Irish restaurants.
So we're proud of this. We're proud of this because it's a report to taxpayer and tells you all the stuff we're doing, good and bad. A lot of stuff in here that we think's good, some people think is bad. So you look at a story and you're like, talking about, a big park project. Some people are like, why are you doing it? Don't do it at all. I want you to do this. So it's not what appears to be good to us. We don't always get feedback back that that's good. So it's a great report, but it's also edible. So just an important, an important aside. But that was one of the first things that we started doing here. And what we try to do on the environment and in the energy area is lead by example. We don't expect other people to do it unless we're doing it ourselves. We don't expect anybody in the county to work longer hours or to take less of a lunch break unless we're all doing it ourselves first. So we try to lead by example. That's what we've tried to do in this newsletter, is lead by example. We're hopeful that things that you produce, you will think about becoming rainforest certified and use recyclable materials and use vegetable oil ink. It helps all of us if we're energy conscious in that way. This is an interesting one. This is our latest, and it says county to build inclusive boundless playgrounds. And it's a great segue into the next topic that I'm going to cover, and it's parks and recreation. Mike and I, about a year ago, we had this idea we have landfill trust money. And there's a significant amount of money in that landfill trust. And we were sitting in the office one day and we're thinking, what can we do that's going to have a significant impact on everybody going forward with this money we've allocated? What is the one hallmark keystone project that we can do that really is going to change lives? What can we do? And it's recreation geared money. So we came up with this idea of doing boundless playgrounds. And the concept kind of goes like this. An ADA, everybody knows what an ADA compliant playground is. ADA compliant playground means that you can ride up to it in a wheelchair and touch it. That's it. Doesn't mean that you can go on it. Doesn't mean you can climb on it, and you can't climb on it, and you can't get on it. ADA compliant, it just means that the surfacing leading up to the playground allows you, if you're in a wheelchair, to touch it. Well, we don't think that that's acceptable. And we've made a $2 million investment. We're building 3 boundless universal access playgrounds this year. We're building more universal access playgrounds next year. $500,000 playground at McDade Park, a $250,000 playground at the joint Abington Recreational Facility, and a $250,000 playground at McHale Park in Dunmore. And these are the first of our projects. They'll all be done this summer. I think really July to August timing for all 3 of them. And what it does is it breaks down the barriers. There will not be another opportunity for those barriers in Lackawanna County to come down if we don't make a significant investment while we've got the money. And we're doing that. Imagine the day when, you ever kind of see, you know, if somebody, and this happens a lot in northeastern Pennsylvania, but you ever see when, like, a child, you know, a parent with an able-bodied child's walking down the street, and coming toward them is a parent with a special needs child, and they're either in a wheelchair or they have a disability, and they're walking. And sometimes you'll see that parent with the able-bodied child crossing the street, or they put their head down, or they kind of don't, they're just afraid. They don't understand and they don't know, so they just don't know how to deal with it sometimes. And I think a lot of us have some insecurity with respect to that and how we teach our children to interact. Well, these playgrounds break down all those barriers, because that child in that wheelchair can sit on a swing, eye level, with an able-bodied kid and just swing on the swing. And when those two children's eyes meet and they smile, guess what? Those kids are going to know that the other kid, hey, this kid doesn't look anything like me, but man, oh man, we're having fun, and that's what this is all about. That kid wants to do just what I want to do, just have fun. That's it. When that, I'll have to build an applause line for that. But when you can go to the highest height in a playground in a wheelchair, and for the first time ever get to the highest height in a playground and go up that playground by yourself, and then have your brother or sister who you could never play with before because they had to play on a different playground, or you just had to watch while they were on the playground, that's going to change the lives of everyone in that family, because a special needs child may not have been able to play with their brother or sister before. And when you're an able-bodied child and you can climb that rock wall and you can attain the highest heights that you can, and that you can reach your maximum capacity, there's going to be an excitement there. When that child with autism can go underneath the sliding board, because children with autism like little cozy areas where there's not a lot of noise and not a lot of activity, when they can go underneath the sliding board, and when they go under there, they see tic-tac-toe, because we're designing it that every single place in the playground is a place to play. You know, when you climb underneath, when you go underneath any of the apparatus there, there's going to be a nook there where there's a learning opportunity or a playing opportunity. That child is going to be better off for it. Now think about those two parents. Remember the parents that are walking down the street opposite each other, and one doesn't kind of know how to deal with the other? Now they're sitting at that park on the same park bench, and they're watching their kids play together. One child in a wheelchair, one not in a wheelchair. What are those parents talking about? How much fun their kid's having. And that able-bodied child's parent sitting there like, boy, you know what? That kid's just like my kid, really. They can do it. And then maybe it starts a conversation. Well, what's the disability that your child has? Well, my child has autism. Well, what's autism all about? And then we start to learn about it. We break down those barriers. And we understand that John is just like Jim, and that Susan is just like Sally. And we're all just looking to have fun on this playground. That's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to level the playing field for all of these children and all of these parents. We think it's going to be a very special project. We're proud to be a part of that, to get that done. And we think that you're going to be proud of us for getting it done. The $500,000 playground at McDade Park will be the main event, the main attraction. But Mike and I were looking over the drawings just this past weekend at the Fish Derby. There was a fishing derby that we hosted at McDade Park. There were about 300 children there fishing in the pond. And we were there, and we took a few minutes, and we rode over with Bill Davis, who's our Director of Parks and Recreation, and he showed us the plans for the other playgrounds. And I'll tell you, I think you're going to be real proud of what you see in Abington and what you see in Dunmore, as well as what you see at McDade Park. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to utilize that recreational money in a way that is going to change people's lives. We've also recently announced the addition of our next Lackawanna County Park, Covington Park, which is in the North Pocono area. We're spending and investing over $5 million in upgrades to our park system in Aylesworth, in McDade, and also now Covington. We're doing a trail there. We're doing an additional ball field. We're doing a pavilion. We were at Aylesworth. We did a groundbreaking for a pavilion up at Aylesworth. We believe, as Austin will say, you know, we want you to live, work, and play in Lackawanna County, and there's plenty to play with here for your children and also you. So we've done a lot in the recreational area. One of the other areas that we've invested money and we're seeing a great return. We've invested $500,000 in a recreational program, and it's a match program. We've been able to leverage private and other governmental funds against our $500,000 to now generate over $2.3 million in new recreational projects. $2.3 million bucks to our $500,000. And the idea was a simple one. Hey, we'll start your project. We'll give you $25,000, $35,000, $45,000 for it, but it has to be the end stage. You have to have all the other money lined up, and we're not going to give you more than a third. So you need significant investment. Well, little did we know that 20 or 25 applications would come in and would do just that. And the total number is $2.3 million. So we're able to leverage through a public-private partnership and a partnership of governmental entities between state and others to really expand what we were able to do with just our $500,000. So we're excited about that. The last thing I'm going to talk about is innovation. And Austin touched on a few of them, but I'm going to reiterate them because I think they're just that important. The first one is the Accelerator Program. The Incubator Program in Lackawanna County has been an overwhelming success. It has seen startup companies, businesses with just an idea and very little capital, get up and running and do great things and hire people. But the next step is you go from an incubator facility where you're not paying any taxes, where life is pretty good, to the real world. So that just going from life is great to the real world without an interim step is a harsh reality. And what it has done and what it does nationally is it ends up cutting off some of that growth. So all of a sudden, your growth is here, then you hit the real world, and luckily, maybe you're flatlining on growth, but oftentimes you're starting to now dip, and you're starting to go in the wrong direction. So we need to do something. We need to have an interim facility that can continue to encourage these companies to grow, while at the same time starting to bring them into the tax rolls, starting to have them participate in a larger amount and take on more expense, but not not costing jobs. Allowing their continual growth pattern to be this way is very important. That's what this Accelerator Program is all about. And it's critically important that we now, after having a successful incubator program, that we now start engaging an Accelerator Program. The other thing I want to talk about that Austin talked about in innovation is the website. That's a joint collaborative process with the Chamber, with Rediscover Scranton, with Power, and with Lackawanna County. What Austin didn't, one of the things that I wanted to mention that Austin didn't cover, he gave me a little bit to talk about, is one of the reasons why we're doing it, is we want to bring people back here who have left, and we want them to know that they're welcome here and that there's a lot of great things going on right here in Lackawanna County. And there are, and we've got plenty to talk about, but we need an opportunity through the internet and through technology to get people who have left here to rediscover our area. And that's what this website's driving at, and it's going to be very, very successful. We're proud to be a part of that. Just a few more quick things that I want to mention. First is our Gateway Center that we're going to be opening up in the next few months. What a Gateway Center is, we found when we arrived, there's all these different buildings. The county's scattered, county government's scattered through everywhere. If you ever need to find something, call us, because it'll be tricky. You're not just going to find it, okay? It's not that easy. So trust us when we tell you it's a pretty complicated, like where are they? I mean, good luck figuring that out. So what we've decided is, why don't we try to create a one-stop shop where you as a resident can just go one place and figure out what it is you need done. Now, if you're not in government, you don't understand what a big deal that is, because in government, we know how, everyone's just scattered all over the place. If you've ever had to access government, the frustration of it would set in, and you'd see the need. But most people wouldn't. But we don't want to have to put you through that to figure it out. So what we're doing is we're doing a one-stop shop for government services. So you'll be able to go into the Jefferson building right across the street from the Radisson, and you'll be able to access all the government right there. If we need to have somebody run down from another office to come and talk to you, we will. If you can get on the phone right there, you can talk to people right there. You can access things online there, and we'll help you through the process. So instead of having to navigate the system, we navigate the system for you. All you have to do is walk in the door. The other thing that we're doing, and we're launching a pilot program right now, and we're trying to see how this is going to work out, is better delivery of our human services. Because right now, the human services, you'd have to come downtown. Now, if there's a child being abused, they're not going to like jump on a bus and roll into downtown Scranton, find where Children and Youth Services is, and go and complain. They're more likely to do that in their own neighborhood, in their own community. So what we're launching, we want to see if this is successful. It's still just a pilot program. What we want to do is we want to roll out and have human services offices in the local community centers. So if a child gets dropped off to play basketball, they know that if they're being bullied or if they're being abused at home or if there's something just not right, they feel like they're not being fed enough, if there's a problem, that they can just slip in to the human services office right there in their local community center to get help. One of the things that I really underestimated when running for this position was the importance of protecting our children. Our primary job in Lackawanna County is protecting kids. Number 1, 2, and 3 jobs on the priority list. That's it, protecting these children. If somebody's being abused, we protect them, nobody else. There is no one else who protects a child who's being abused, nobody. We're it. We're the governmental unit that does that. The state funds us, they don't do it. They fund us. Municipal governments do not do it. Federal government does not do it. We're it. We take that responsibility very, very seriously. And as such, our Human Services Outreach Center helps us in that effort. But it's also helping us with seniors. Do you need your tickets for the farmer's market? Go into the Human Services Center. A veteran. Do you need to know what benefits are available to you? Go right there to your local community center and we'll let you know. Aging. Are you eligible for a certain aging program? Go right into the community center, into our office there, and we'll let you know. Those are the kind of things that we're trying to do. That's something that we think is innovative. That's something that we think is going to be helpful here. I just want to end with what everybody likes to talk about around here these days, and it's where are we? We're not far from here, the medical school. Austin, how many times, do you ever give a speech where you don't talk about the medical school? Rarely, right. So everybody, we always have to talk about the medical school and how proud we are to have medical school here. I was watching the mayor's debate. They had a debate last night, and I just caught a little clip of it earlier today. And on the clip, they were talking about the medical school, and just that somebody had said that it's never going to do anything for you unless you work there. And I'm thinking to myself, it's going to improve the quality of our health care. It's going to improve the quality of our lives and our children's lives and our grandchildren's lives because we're going to have state-of-the-art practitioners. We're going to have state-of-the-art medicine right here in Lackawanna County, right here in northeastern Pennsylvania. So that is such an innovation for our area. And we have the governor to thank. We have Senator Mello to thank. We have Austin Burke to thank. We have the mayor, the city of Scranton to thank. And the doctors who had this idea, man, oh man, I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if we can sell anybody on it, but we just have this idea to create this thing that we think could work. And now it's here, and we're building it. So we're excited to be a little bit of a player, a small player in that project, and happy to be doing that. So with that, thank you again for being here. Thank you for working in our county. Thank you for having your businesses in our county. Please call on us when you need assistance. And if we don't know what to do, we just get on the phone with Austin and we figure it out. And that's typically how it works. But at this time, just wanted to open it up for any questions of Mike or me with respect to the county and what we do and what we can do for you. If you have any, I'll take them. And if you don't, have a good evening and thank you.
Thank you to all of our speakers this evening. Session 4 is now concluded, so I will see you next week. Our final session, session 5, at Keystone College. But before we dismiss, Corey and Mike. Whoops. Whoops.
Actually, this gives us a chance to speak some more. You didn't have any questions. Our ethics policy precludes us
from taking anything.
But what if you can eat it?
We are at
this spot, so it includes us.
You know what, this is, you know, when we were first elected, we sat with a local nonprofit, and we're sitting at a table similar to this one, and there's about as many people at it. And Mike and I